Valorant is a game. Many love it, many more hate it. Riot Games, the developers for Valorant, are doing well when it comes to releasing new agents and maps, but that's about it. Fans have been requesting for a replay feature for years. It would be helpful to see the mistakes you made, catch cheaters, show friends a cool clip, or even for content creators to make videos. That is why I made a replay system to prove that Riot Games is lazy. Firstly, I want to say that we cannot physically change the code of Valorant since I don't work there. Instead, we need to recreate Valorant in a game engine and from there, create our own replay system. So fellas, I created a new Unreal Engine project using the first person template and I named it Valorant Replay System. By the way everybody, Valorant is made in Unreal Engine, but it's not scripted using the blueprint system that I'm using. I just wanted to make that clear during this video. Like I said before, I need to create some abilities so I can actually record something in our replay system. I went with Omen because I have the most hours with him and I know him the best. And he's the cutest. Our boy Omen here has a simple smoke ability, so I just used a sphere to create a smoke ball. And this is what it looks like. They are very far away for some reason, like my dad. Turns out I'm doing the math wrong. Stay in school, fellas. Now that our smokes are spawning incorrectly, I added some more distance to them. They also need to be a bit bigger. A bit bigger. No, not that big. No. Using my real life superpower called hindsight, I could tell these were still smaller than the regular smokes in game. If only there was a replay system, I could go back and check. Omen's smokes work differently to other agents. He can place them in the air and the center point of the smoke will glide down to the ground underneath. So I turned off collision for the sphere, added a very tiny cube to the center and made that have world collision. Now, we are faced with another problem. Tax evasion. No, that's not right. The issue is that our cube is so small, it bounces around when it hits the ground, and it causes this funky spinning effect. I ended up just locking the rotation on 2 different axes to prevent this. That looks better. I started to create a purple texture that I will use on our util, but I just ended up opening Photoshop. Let's create something with a bit more spice. I spent about 12 hours creating this one, then applied it to the material. I added a planer which just scrolls the texture along an axis. I then realized our smoke is an absolutely busted one way. There we go. We are one step closer to creating this replay system. I won't take as long to create the other abilities, I promise. Now for Omen's next ability, called Paranoia. Like with our smoke we just created, I made another sphere. The right size this time, at least. I think when our orb spawns in, it checks for your player's rotation and adds an impulse in the same direction, and this sphere has no collision. I accidentally didn't link up the player's location, so it's spawning at world origin. It took my hamster wheel brain a while to figure that one out. Which is why I want to talk about today's sponsor, G Fuel. That's a joke, please don't click off, I have 100 subs. Why would I have sponsors? Next up, let's create a Niagara system, which trust me is not a slur, I looked it up. Which is just Unreal Engine's fancy term for its new particle system. I just copied the fountain effect and turned off gravity for the particles and then I just tweaked some other settings here and there. Remember that Mona Lisa we created earlier? Well, we're also going to use it here on the sphere. Looking good, we are getting much closer to creating the replay system. I'm getting kinda nervous. And so should you, Riot Games, I hope you're watching this. Probably not. Okay, so now we are onto the teleport. I used another sphere. Just kidding! I used a cone this time. Also, I turned it upside down, so now it's like an arrow for where we want to teleport to. We need to also lock it to the ground, but it's still kinda glitchy. Before we fix this, for some god-forsaken reason, I created a translucent material that I applied to the smoke and teleport to give the player some visual feedback. No one's playing this, by the way, I don't know why I did that. After some more tests and tweaks, I fixed those bugs and our teleport is good to go. Our replay system is next, but very quickly I want to show you all 3 of the abilities in action. Let me know what you think for just a couple hours of work. Why am I spending so many hours on something that I can't even release to the public? To prove a point, of course. If you're listening, Riot Games, get some paper and pull that pen out of your ass because I'm going to actually teach you how I made my replay system right now. So I don't want to bore any people, so I won't go over the inner workings of the replay system, but I will try and do a simple drawing in Photoshop, which by now you all know I'm an expert in. Could you tell? When the game starts, there is a timeline that is created. This will go on indefinitely. When an ability is used, it sends a message to the replay system to record some information about the ability, like the ability's name itself, the location, rotation, who used it, and most importantly, when in the timeline it was used. And here's the kicker, get ready for this one. When I hit a button on my keyboard, another timeline is created and starts playing. When this new timeline matches with an event from the previous one, it executes an event depending on the information we stored from the timeline before it. Now that we can record playback, I need a way to view it. Thankfully, Unreal Engine has a built-in spectate system we can use. And remember, Valorant is built off Unreal Engine. So, I spawn in a spectating player, start possessing the spectator, then remove my original character from the world, and now you can fly around as you please. Now, recording player movement is very similar to the abilities, except we have to execute it rapidly in order to keep it looking smooth. Most games would just interpolate in between, but we ain't got time for that. Now for the map, a YouTuber named Rocklan, being the legend that he is, released a Blender file for the Ascent B site. Link in description to his video, by the way, cheers dude. Then, I had to convert it to an FBX file, import it to Unreal Engine, which took about 15 minutes. I hacked the Pentagon, removed some unnecessary collisions. I had to pat Peanut, 1 like equals 1 pat. Now we probably could have skipped some of those steps. Okay, that's better. I don't want to link up hundreds of textures, so we're just going to leave it white. I'm just some young fella doing this in his spare time. If I were a billion-dollar company, I would make sure my game has everything it possibly could, including a replay system. Anyway, we are done. Let's take a look at this. Firstly, I have to press start, then perform my actions. I'm going to pretend like I'm pushing the site. Going to do some smokes here, some blinds here, and even a teleport. Then we hit the playback button on the keyboard and watch it unfold. I made this video in hopes that we can one day get a replay system for Valorant. I didn't make this video to get paid. I am not a YouTube partner. I didn't make the Unreal project to get paid. I can't publish it as I don't own the rights. And hell, I will even screw over any chance of getting a Riot gun buddy right now if it means the slightest chance of getting a replay system. Riot Games, you add dog crap gun skins that are overpriced, you keep reworking agents that don't need it, you add literal skid marks to this menu that you call the Battle Pass, remove game modes that were actually fun, content creators are losing interest in your game, you gave the sack to a bunch of employees who probably didn't deserve it, but guess what guys, we got a new gun! It's just a slightly changed Marshall. There's already a sniping problem in this game. Who actually asked for this? Go to any comment section under anything Valorant posted and I assure you they are all wanting one thing. A replay system. If I can do this in a couple hours with almost no scripting experience, you could easily do this with hundreds of employees given almost 4 years. Your move, Riot Games.